My official full name is Dr Alper Yalcinkaya. I did my PhD at the University of California, San Diego. That's where I was writing my PhD on the perceptions of science in the 19th century Ottoman Empire. I was not necessarily thinking too much about science and religion at that moment. I knew that it would talk about religion somewhere. That dissertation, when you're talking about the 19th century, has to talk about religion. Before even the dissertation stage, I took a class with Professor Bob Westman. He offered a two-semester course on science and religion. And for that course, I read some, again, 19th century Ottoman texts about this potential conflict between science and religion, and I realized that it was, first of all, not a topic that many people had studied, and it was a topic that I really loved to read about. So I wrote a paper on it, and that paper then later in the future became my first published paper, a 19th century Ottoman intellectuals analysis of an American author's work on the conflict between science and religion. Then I discovered that that American author, John William Draper, is a person many people have written about. And I was, in a way, like one of the few people who had written about him from a non-American or non-European perspective. Then I started the dissertation, and during the dissertation I found many more things to later look at. Again, 19th century Turkish Ottoman people writing about Islam, how it's the best religion if you want to be a scientist, it's the most harmonious religion with science, etc. And thanks to a grant from our network, I was able to, with a colleague of mine, start a research project about a year ago. And we looked at how religious Turkish people think about the relations between science and religion, but more specifically, how do they look at more controversial issues like, say, the COVID pandemic and vaccinations, climate change, and also sex, gender identity, and gender reassignment, those types of issues. So we interviewed lots of people, including politicians, and we are working on turning it into at least one publication, and I'm really excited about that. This is the network that gave me the people to talk to, even if they're not necessarily experts of the Ottoman Empire. Like, the questions and the perspectives were so applicable to all my research, and that's why the network has helped me a lot in my growth as an academic. Turkey is religious, but it's also a society in which religion is always talked about, and especially younger generations debating issues with older people among themselves, etc. So that kind of lots of talk about religion is actually, I think, a good thing. We finished this project, but now we are hopefully starting a larger project with funding from a Turkish agency. So we want to see what ways there could be for people to get more involved with science. This theme referred to as citizen science. Is that possible in Turkey, or what could be methods, what could be policies that would make it possible? So we're going to have a much larger survey, and then interviews, focus groups, visits to science museums, science centers, etc., to really have a sense of the perceptions of the Turkish public of not only science, but also of themselves vis-a-vis science. We're going to try to prepare a policy brief, how to get Turkish citizens more involved with science, how to also deal with some of the prejudices they might have about scientists. That's going to be our major project. Another thing that I'm working on, though, emotions, the, again, late 19th century idea that emotions can also best be understood by science and nothing else, especially the emotion of love. So I am writing something about from the science of love to the love of science. Late 19th century Ottoman intellectuals, how they thought about love and how science changed the way they thought about love. Because we are studying something like science and religion, a topic that is so contentious or important to so many people, or something that many people will want to have an opinion about. At the end of the day, this type of research is related to the bigger question of what are people like? What kind of things are we? Because there's so much, again, stereotypical ideas like science and religion should always be in conflict, etc. But what you observe when you do this kind of research is that people are happy living with conflict. People are really complex beings, and that's wonderful. And again, we shouldn't try to turn them into binary views on everything, like yes or no, black or white, etc. People are very much happy living in these gray zones all the time, and I think there's nothing to worry about that.